You're watching Palatinate TV.
Hello everyone, I'm Theo, news editor at Ballingham, and these are the interviews for the candidates for the 2021 SU student elections. So right now we're talking to Jack Ballingham, who's running for Opportunities Officer. Jack, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jack. I'm currently a third year studying IR at Aiden's. Yep.
Brilliant. Right, let's crack on. So I guess the first question is why did you decide to run? What about the position made you think that you wanted to go for it?
Because in terms of the position, it's the position that oversees all the student groups and things like the democracy review. And like a lot of people, I've been pretty dissatisfied with the way things have worked with the SU. So I thought I'd better put my money where my mouth is and run for election and see if I can try and change some of the things that are wrong.
Gotcha. So what sort of like relevant experience do you have? You mentioned like student groups. Have you been engaged with those then?
Yeah. I've been on the exec of the Labour Club for nearly 2 years now. I'm currently the co-chair of it. So over the last couple of years, I've had quite a lot of experience with, running societies and, sort of engaging with the SU and seeing how all that works.
Gotcha. So is there anything that you have in mind that you think you do like differently to your predecessor? Is there anything that you'd like to change?
I think the democracy review that Anna's done has been very good. I think it really highlighted a lot of the problems that people have with the SU, and I think in terms of what I'd like to do, obviously it's going to be implemented now, and I'm sure it'll be implemented properly. But in terms of my focus would mainly be on sort of making it easier to run student groups, and I'd like to be quite big on transparency and making sure that everybody knows what's going on.
Gotcha. So we've touched on the democracy review a couple of times already, but do you have like any specific thoughts on the results? What are your thoughts on how it was carried out?
Yeah, I think I think it was a good initiative. I think it's got a lot of useful findings. I think the main takeaway from it is the lack of trust that people have in the SU. And that stems largely from the fact that people don't really know what it does most of the time. People don't trust the SU because they don't know what it's doing on their behalf. And the democracy review highlighted that it's very hard for people to see who their representatives are and see what decisions were taken on their behalf, and that people don't see the actual process of decision making in the SU.
So what do you think your role as Opportunities Officer would be in helping implement some of those changes, do you think?
Yeah, well, obviously we'll have to see how it's implemented the rest of this year. But as Opportunities Officer, I'd like to work in consultation with students and get everybody involved, not just in democracy, but also in changing things about how student groups work. I think the democracy review has been good because it's involved people, and I like to carry on with that.
Definitely. So do you have any like specific plans in particular for Students Groups Committee and how that operates?
Yep. One of my main things, or my main problem with the way student groups handles is the student group agreement, which is this sort of governing document for the relationship between the SU and societies. And the main problem I have with it is it's bureaucratic. It sort of stipulates all of these duties that societies have to the SU, but it doesn't really give very much in return to societies. And I think it's also not particularly clear on what the relationship should be. It stipulates, the societies must do this, but it creates so much bureaucracy, and I think a lot of the time, as a result, the way that the SU handles societies can be quite arbitrary. I've definitely had the feeling in the last couple of years that the way it was applied was quite inconsistent, and it was often unclear what either the SU or societies were supposed to do. So what I'd like to do is in consultation with students, draw up a replacement for it. So scrap the student group agreement and then with students draw up a new version and then put that to a referendum as the replacement.
Okay, gotcha. And so is that like a way of like improving communication then with the groups and associations?
Yeah, it's about it's about just making it easier to run a society and making sure that the SU has some sort of clearly stated guidelines, and it isn't constantly demanding things of societies and sort of arbitrarily imposing decisions without anybody really knowing why.
Gotcha. Right. So final question. Well, it's a bit of a specific one, but how do you feel about the decision for the SU to not fund the Palatinate print edition? And how would you feel about the reallocation of the budget for next year?
No, I think that was definitely the wrong decision. I think the fact that it was justified initially with the cost of coronavirus and then extended for an extra, I think, 3 years was pretty hard to justify. And I definitely want to reinstate the funding.
Gotcha.
I don't know how much direct control I'd have. I can't just dictate it, but it's definitely something I want to work towards.
Yeah, totally understand. Well, brilliant. I think that's everything else, unless you have anything that you'd like to add.
No, not really. I can't think of anything.
Gotcha. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and I will end the recording now.